back to another episode. I am so excited to have you here. This one is absolutely outstanding. I learned so much from Ariann. She is a wealth of knowledge from experience and personal experiences and needing to change her life in order to improve her son's life. And it is very moving, very helpful, very down to earth. And I think you're going to love her. So stay tuned. She's coming up here in just a second. Welcome, Arian, to the show. I am super excited to have you here. Please go ahead and just share a little bit about you, who you are, where you're at, a little bit of your background. We're going to dive into everything. So,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Um, and actually, it's so funny when you initially asked me if I wanted to be on your podcast, I was like, well, first, yes, that sounds fun. But then I was like, I have to look more into Nikki and who she is. And it's so funny that some of the past people you've had on, I either have heard of them or I follow on Instagram myself. Like you had the naturopathic doctor on a while ago, and I
oh,
follow her.
Dr.
And so,
Wilder?
oh,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I was like, this is gonna be great.
yes. So awesome. Well, I'm glad we have that in common. We definitely have very similar I would say viewpoints.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've attacked your side of like the whole non-toxic thing a little bit differently than maybe I did because I wasn't sure where to start. And so I guess like first your mom and you guys have a chiropractic business and you're in
Mhm.
Central Iowa, right? All those things.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So my husband and I, we own a chiropractic office here in the local Des Moines area. We have three kids, so right now 6, 4, and 9 months. Initially, I used to be a teacher, so that's my background. I used to teach English, and once we opened our chiropractic office, it was like I realized I don't want to be teaching anymore. I love my students. That's what I missed. I miss my kids, my students, but I was like, I want to be teaching people about natural living, about chiropractic, about the benefits of things like that. And so that's really how that started with me is just, getting introduced to chiropractic. And then from there, I've learned things along the way. And so now I share about natural remedies. So because I have younger kids, a lot of people will ask me like, what are some good baby wipes to use? And like, what do you do for a cough with your kids or like ear infections, So I get asked that question all the time. And so now I share about natural remedies and things that we do to keep our family healthy.
That's so awesome, right? Like it's a totally different way to attack the same goal, right? Like
Yes.
for me, it's always been like we gotta start with the food side of things, which I know you guys have done as well, and like movement and sunlight and those kinds of things, sleep habits, stress management. And you've gone the other way of like, how can we solve the things that do pop up? Remedies and such, because I don't have a clue about any of that. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to hear about those.
Yeah.
But I guess what was the big initial push for wanting to make the really big transition into like a toxic free or minimized toxin type living lifestyle?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my son, my oldest. And when I was pregnant with him, we had our initial like 20-week diagnostic ultrasound. And we got a call from my midwife after we left. And she said, you guys, I have some bad news. Something's wrong with the baby. And my world was devastated. She shared with us that according to the ultrasound, it looked like his brain wasn't growing. It looked like there was some kind of issue. After follow-up appointments, doctors thought, well, maybe he had a stroke in utero, as you know, sometimes things like that can happen. But they told us that he wasn't going to make it, that he wasn't going to live. They said, he might not live to term. If he does live to term and you are able to give birth to him, he probably won't see, he probably won't hear, he's not going to eat. Um, so anyway, he's fine and healthy now, and so I'll share that. But that was really what kickstarted me because I thought, okay, I thought we were healthy. Like My husband's a chiropractor. We were eating healthy, or even so I thought. Now I've realized I wasn't even healthy. Um, and so that's what got me really kickstarted into, okay, there are things around us that I am like what my body was exposed to that also affects the growing child inside of me. And so, what changes can I make as a new mom and even future mom? Because I knew whatever happened with this child, I wanted more. So, what changes could I make regarding the products around us? And I actually had a friend share with me around that time. She knew nothing of our son's diagnosis, and we kept that very close to us at the time. But she shared with me, hey, like, have you thought about like your hand soap that you're using? Some of the ingredients cannot be so great. And so that kind of naturally happened at the same time that we got this diagnosis, and I thought, this is what I needed. I needed to know what happened. And ultimately, we found out that I have a gene mutation called MTHFR, where I wasn't able to process folic acid properly, which was from my prenatals. And I'll share more about that later. I know that was something we were going to talk about. Um, but so that, my son and that diagnosis, while it was crushing at first, that's really what spurned all of this and, where we are today on this journey.
That is amazing. I can't even imagine the shock and scare that you must have had with all of that. And then
Yeah.
having to be born and have him be okay, right, is
Yeah.
so, and I think is has a lot to do with the things that you changed, for the rest of your pregnancy and then therefore afterwards. Like it's incredible what we surround ourselves with, what we put in our body, what we put on our body really can make an impact not only on like our children's lives and in utero and while we're pregnant, but also just like our life in general.
Yes. Yeah.
Um
I think we just don't, it's not something we've ever learned about before. And I do think, so my son will be 7 this year. I do think even the conversations we have now is different than what conversations were even 7 years ago. Now you do hear the words toxin-free living or clean living. You at least hear about that, which like back then, I feel like we didn't hear about that even 5 years ago.
no, much less when we were kids. Like,
Yes,
oh man. Like don't blame my parents or anything, but whoa.
I
Um
know. My husband and I joke about how our parents used to give us bread and sugar sandwiches. Like,
I literally remember having the honey nut Cheerios in milk, and then we would put like 6 tablespoons of sugar on top of that. And it,
yes,
okay. Or
now we
like,
know better, so we can do better.
yes, and now we do better, right? And that's just, it's amazing what we can learn and what we can control and how fast our bodies can really like accept that change and start to show the positive results too. Some things, yes, take longer, but so many changes are so immediate within even days. Uh,
Yes.
it's amazing. So, okay, so with that, like making the changes to like a clean, non-toxic lifestyle, right? Like you've made certain changes, I've made certain ones. Which ones did you change first? Was it your skincare? Was it food? Was it cleaning products? Like, what did you change first?
hmm well, initially, because it was more urgent for me, once I found out about this gene mutation I had, initially it was prenatal vitamins. I was like, I need to get on a better vitamin because my body wasn't able to properly absorb and transition the folic acid into folate, which is so important in metabolizing. But anyway, the next thing for me was skincare and makeup because I used it every day. So what I tell people is pick something that you use every day. If you're wanting to switch out your products, go to more of a natural lifestyle, choose what makes sense for you. And so for me, that was I'm putting on makeup, I'm putting on mascara, I'm doing my eyebrows, blush, bronzer. Like that's my routine. Not everybody has that routine, but because I was working in our chiropractic office 100% of the time, I was around people all the time, and so I wore makeup every single day. So that was my initial switch and change was my personal skincare and makeup.
Gotcha.
Um, the next thing then was my husband.
You changed your
Switch,
husband.
yeah. Helping him just find stuff that he liked, because that's also, just kind of uh, can be a sticking point for people, right? Is like, I don't want to switch because I like X, Y, and Z better. And so for me, it was okay, Drew, I have this body bar, so that's what we still use, but I have a body bar you're going to like a lot better than your Old Spice, your Old Spice shower gel that's full of toxic ingredients that you're breathing in all the time. And the next it was baby products because we were expecting, and whatever was going to happen with this child, I knew we wanted to have more. So then I started to look into like baby wash and baby shampoo, baby wipes, diapers, kind of that whole 9 yards. And what's funny about that too is, so my son was born, he had some complications at birth, but so he was in the NICU and PICU, and they, with if you've ever given birth in a hospital, they give you the little bottles of Johnson and Johnson baby wash, and I told the nurses, I was like, "You're not using that." I said, "I'm going to bring stuff from home that you're going to use on him." And it's so funny because now we know that Johnson and Johnson, since, about 5 years ago, they've had multiple lawsuits and they have now reformulated because people are aware that there were formaldehyde releasing ingredients in baby shampoo and baby wash that they were using on brand new babies. Um, and so another thing I love about just this, I guess, movement of cleaner products is it does impact, on a bigger scale. Like corporations, they are listening to people. Like we want clean products, so they're going to reformulate. And Johnson and Johnson, their stuff isn't squeaky clean by any means, but is it a lot better? It is. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what I started with back in what that was 2018. And so, yeah, many years later.
I wish I don't. I mean, we definitely did the Johnson and Johnson all
Yeah,
the way.
yeah,
My kids like soaked all that up. You know, we can change what we know now, right? And we can do better
right.
moving forward. And that's the goal. I agree.
Yes,
Like trying to get the husband on board for any sort of change is really hard. He still likes his deodorant and he likes his shower gel. We're working
yeah,
on those things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but like I've gotten him to eat a lot cleaner for a lot of the time. And
Yes.
like gotten the kids to prefer like cleaner types of snacks a lot of the time and things. Like for me it's been a lot of food based to get a lot of that like things that we're constantly feeding ourselves.
Yes.
But as far as like personal care items, it's been a bigger struggle. Um okay, so this is like more of like a question. We're gonna get into this anyway, but what do you use for laundry? Because we live on a farm, we sweat a lot. Like going to the natural laundry stuff and like wool balls is just not working for us. So tell me what
Yes.
you.
Yeah, so I found it through a friend because I can't make a claim that I find all of this stuff myself. It's like I have friends that are also in this world and they share with me. And so I had a friend share with me about a company. It's called Truly Free. I was gonna share this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
Perfect.
share
Well,
it on
we'll cover this one
now.
first.
And it's called Truly Free. But I there if so I'll say if you love the smell of conventional laundry stuff, you like that more that floral smell or just like the smell that comes with the Tide and that like those companies, which I do like I do like that smell.
I do too.
This is going to be the best switch, truly free. So I also like though that so it comes in these packets. So this isn't like a jug. So it comes in packets that you reuse the same plastic jug. So also you're not throwing out plastic jugs that are just sitting in landfills, right? That's where they go,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And so they send you the packets that you pour in the solution, or for the laundry, it's actually like a powder. So you pour the powder in, you mix it with water, and you're good to go. Um, and they have their own softener system. It's like a little I guess like a little satchel thing that is put in with the dryer so it's not like the wool balls. And I get the I get it because you want it to smell good. And I will say that was my husband's holdup with
Right.
laundry
Yeah.
is I switched to some other companies, which are great things. Like if anyone has ever heard of Molly Suds or
Yeah.
Branch Basics, those are still great companies to use. But my husband's like, I want it to smell nice.
Yeah. Well, that like the wool balls for us, everything would stick to us. It was like so static. So do you ever
Yes.
work with that with this Truly Free too?
Yeah, yeah. So they have it's like their switch instead of dryer sheets because dryer sheets are again chock full of like formaldehyde releasing ingredients, hormone disrupting ingredients. And so it's this satchel that you throw in the laundry and it leaves your laundry smelling so good. Um, yeah, they have stain stick. They also have other cleaning products. So I also use like their everyday cleaner, bathroom cleaner. If you're looking for like a cleaning type of a company to switch to, that is a really, really great one. And I love that they're transparent. Like they show you each and every ingredient. They share what comes up in their fragrances, like how they come up with their fragrances. They share that with you. So it's not hidden behind a label called perfume or fragrance, and you're left wondering, well, what's in this?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's super helpful. I know our next kind of thing that we were going to dive into is like your favorite products. And I have been struggling with the laundry front because I really, really tried, and our clothes either did not smell good. Like my kids play sports nearly every single day. Rob and I both work out every day. Like the stench was not leaving the clothes anymore. And I was like, I need to find
Yes,
something different. So
yes.
perfect. Okay. Okay. So now, same topic, but what are your other favorite brands? Like whatever you want to talk about, favorite brands that you've switched to.
Yeah. And I'll say that the brands that I love and share about on my different socials are brands that I personally have used and that I truly feel are being transparent about their ingredients. You know, if I come across a company and again, I'll use the label fragrance. Like you'll see that on a lot of different products, from cleaning products to makeup to skincare to body wash. If it says fragrance, but the company doesn't disclose what's in that specific ingredient, um, just as some background, that one ingredient can actually have over 200 different ingredients as part of the makeup. And it's actually a loophole because again, just some background information is that was given and provided to companies as a way to protect their proprietary information. You know, so a company says, "Hey, we used these 5 different fragrance ingredients to make our product. We don't want other companies to know about it and to steal our information." And so um, the government regulations said, okay, well, we're going to come up with this regulation that says you can label it as perfume or fragrance, and no one has to know about what's in it. So it came about to protect companies, but then as consumers, we're left wondering what's in that. So anyway, all that to say is the companies that I've personally used and vetted, they are transparent about all of their ingredients.
Yes. Okay, so not to interrupt because we
No,
were
no,
just
no. Go for it.
so you know how with foods, this is something that's like very similar, right? Like so the fragrance profile, I didn't realize there was up to 200 different types of things they could put in there. Same kind of thing goes for if you see a food and the ingredient says natural flavors, that can
Yes.
have things like flavor carriers, like maltodextrins and things like that in there. They're actually more like emulsifiers that can cause a whole bunch of gut disruption and things like that, which is so crazy. So you want to avoid things that say perfume fragrance, but you also want to avoid things that say natural flavors as much as you can because you don't really know what makes up that piece right there. It's insanity. So,
Yeah, it's the same regulation loophole that companies are allowed. And again, I get it on one hand because companies want to protect their information and how they came up with their products. But on the other, we still need transparency. So
yeah, for sure. Like, there's got to be a better way. And it cannot include extra, like, poor ingredient profiles under those pieces.
yes.
Hopefully that
Yes.
gets. some point. But okay, move on to your other favorite brands.
Yeah, yeah. So the back in 2018, when I had mentioned the first thing I switched was skincare and makeup, I switched to this company called Crunchy, and spelled with Crunchi, not with a Y. I know that's kind of a buzzword of the natural world, but so I absolutely love their products. I have some of them here. Let's see. So like this is a facial bar, for example. It's in paper packaging. So you don't have the concerns that you might be that you might be putting your body through like when excuse me, when companies put together a product and let's say it's a liquid product and they put it then in plastic, you have the chance that the plastic is going to leach into your natural product. And so I love Crunchy because they don't use plastics in their packaging. And so, like their skincare, for example, it's all glass packaging that they use. So they have everything from vitamin C serums, which is kind of a rage right now, like vitamin C serum, or they have a facial oil. So they have different facial products and anywhere from helping mature skin, anti-aging, helping hormonal issues, teens, and they also have makeup. I'll share too. So this is their bronzer. So just to share some of about their different products they have. They have a foundation, which is a full coverage foundation. They again have concealer, they have blush, and so these two bottles, I'm holding up the concealer and blush. It's in glass packaging again. And something I love about Crunchy that I should have shared is they always test their products. So they test each individual ingredient when it comes to them for heavy metals. They also test as it's being made, and then they batch test it at the end of being made to make sure that the levels of heavy metals are below what they have put their standards at. Um, which I absolutely love. It's truly unheard of in the cosmetic industry. You're not going to find many companies that do that kind of a testing. They also use organic ingredients when possible. You know, not everything can be organic. So, just a quick share with when it comes to personal care products, unlike food, personal care products, a product itself cannot be labeled organic. So, like, I couldn't say this is an organic soap bar because that's not how the product industry works. Food, you can do that, right? You can say these are organic crackers or things like that. So, Crunchy, they also test for things like pesticides and herbicides, and they also clinically test their products to make sure that they actually work. Um, that's another thing that people say about clean products is, well, or excuse me, like natural products. Well, it's not going to actually work as well as my other products I might use. And let me tell you, like they do so many studies. Again, all these companies, they do studies to prove that their products hold up compared to, the cheaper chemical laden counterparts that they're, trying to help people switch from. So, yeah, so that's the main one that I use for skincare and makeup. It's truly the best company that I can't say enough about. I rave about them all the time.
That's amazing. No, I'm looking to change my skincare and makeup, as I run out of things. So I'm excited for this because I am going to definitely be looking into Crunchy myself. When I started talking to you, that was the first time I'd ever heard of them. So I'm really excited to dig a little deeper into them. And I love that third party testing, like the just ingredients, some of the supplements that I utilize and showcase and stuff, they're all third party tested as well. Like I can appreciate that next level that a company takes for their products. So I'm really excited about that. So
Yes.
expect me to be reaching out as I run out of stuff. Um, no, that's outstanding. Okay, so when it comes to like hand soaps and things like that, is that also like a truly free thing?
Yeah, so Truly Free does have hand soaps. I'll share a couple. I have two more companies
Oh,
that I
yeah.
can share
Oh,
with
yeah, for
you.
sure. Go for it.
The first, this is the company that if I have anybody who says I'm balling on a budget, I want to switch to toxin-free stuff, but I maybe can't switch to the companies that use glass because it does come at a higher price point if, the company uses glass packaging and things like that. I shared this company with them. It's called Attitude, or Attitude Living. This is their dish washing soap, and I also use their for my dishwasher. I use their dishwasher tablets.
Oh,
Um, they again are fully clean line. You'll notice their labels. Their labels say fragrance, but in asterisks, that's a difficult word to say. Um, in each in each of their ingredient lists, they will label which ingredients make up the fragrance portion. And
oh,
so that again, they're fully transparent line. They have Attitude has anywhere from they have a kids line, they have a men's and a women's line, they have deodorant, toothpaste. They're also kind of if you want a one-stop shop, they're really great for like the personal care product side of things.
okay.
Shower gel. I believe they also have shampoo and conditioner. I personally haven't used those ones, but in terms of ingredients, that's a wonderful company to start switching some things to.
Outstanding.
And then the next, yeah, yeah, I love that they have provided so many different products for again to like fill in the gaps for people.
Yeah.
Um, and then the next company is called Roa Casa. So they also have hand soaps. Roa Casa does use glass packaging for a lot of their things too. So again, you're not going to run into leaching plastic from the packaging into the clean products. Um, Rocasa also does prioritize organic ingredients. Attitude doesn't prioritize organic, but again, I think that company is still great. Rocasa does have a kids line, so this is their kids body lotion. They have kids hand soap. Um, Rocasa also has a lot of hormone health support too. So they sell different herbs and tinctures that are helpful for women and men, but some things like PMS help. They have like roller balls to help with that. Um, they also have different natural remedies. So this one right here is called Stop the Itch Stick. So this is like a chapstick size, but it's for, if you have mosquito bites. Um, they also have mosquito spray. They have a sunscreen. So that is another good company that's kind of all encompassing for natural products.
That is so insanely helpful. Thank you. So I know I'm going to be
Yeah.
making some switches for sure, especially summer coming up, bugs coming back. It's warm in Iowa this week. The flies are already coming back to life. So
Yeah.
very excited to look into some of these pieces for sure. So thank you for your expertise on those.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so something that I thought was super interesting was like literally we talked on the phone last week, right, to decide we were gonna put this together. And you told me about the folate versus folic acid. And like I had a friend that reached out like right before that I told you about that was asking about the whole folic acid thing. And it was a whole different avenue that I hadn't really ever had a need to explore before. And the information that you told me helped her. So I want you to kind of jump into that just a little bit, as far as like folate versus folic acid and like how you had to approach doing things a little differently to help.
Yeah. Yeah. So Um, a bit of background. So, folate, otherwise known as vitamin B9, folate is the natural form of that vitamin. So, you find folate in natural foods. So, our leafy greens, legumes, like chickpeas, and a handful of other vegetables and protein sources. So, like our beef. Lamb and then chicken. And then it's in a lot of things, but those are more of the higher concentrations. Um, and I will say that often you hear interchangeably folic acid and folate, but it is important to know that those aren't interchangeable because they are different and they have a completely different chemical makeup and they are metabolized differently in our body. Okay, so that's folate. So folic acid is the synthetic version of B9. It's made in a lab. It was created um, because of the need to get people to have this vitamin in our bodies and in a quicker way. Um, Once research was done, I think this was back in the 80s, probably even earlier, but um, research was done that showed that if the mom was deficient in folate or B9, that can cause neural tube defects. So the neural tube in development are things like the child's brain and spinal cord. So a common diagnosis is spina bifida. That's something people commonly hear. So anyway, so then the government said, okay, to help with that, moms need to make sure that they're upping their folate B9 levels. We're going to put folic acid in our food. So they started to supplement with especially wheat products. So bread, cereals, things like waffles for kids, a lot have fortified folic acid in them. And I'll get to why that's problematic in a little bit. So anyway, that's the difference between the two. Um, it's also used differently in our body. So folate, which is the true version from food, that is ready to be metabolized and used in our body. It's actually metabolized in our liver. If we ingest folic acid, it has to be broken down by a different process before it is even used in our liver. And here's where it can become problematic for people. If your body doesn't metabolize folic acid like mine, so I have a gene mutation called MTHFR, which actually is studies now show that that is common in as much as 50% of the population. I know they used to, years ago, when I first found out about this, they said, oh, it's prevalent in about a third of the population. But recent studies have said it can be in up to 50% of the population. Um, but what MTHFR, so that is a specific gene, but when you have one of the gene mutations, like what I have, um, or at least one of the gene mutations, your body it doesn't easily metabolize even natural folate. So for someone like me who has that gene mutation, folic acid actually has, like, my body needs a couple of different processes to break that down. So it's even harder for my body to metabolize. Um, where that can get complex is, let's say I'll just use myself as I was a pregnant woman. Um, I was taking folic acid in high amounts. The problem is your body isn't able to quickly do that with folic acid, especially for someone with MTHFR. So you get an overaccumulation of folic acid in your blood, which can cover up vitamin B12 deficiency. So then that can cause neural tube defects. Um, I want to say that it's not definitive in terms of the studies they've done, but they have found it can happen. So just to put that out there. Um, but for me, that was enough to say, I think this is what happened to my son. I don't know that for sure, but I wasn't taking the right type of B9 that my body needed. And so I actually, with my supplements now, I take a vitamin, my B9 is actually called methylfolate, which is the broken down version of true folate. Um, and so when you have this overaccumulation of folic acid, some studies now have shown that um, essentially that can turn on cancer cells. And so something else I dug into was that uh, uh, back to the uh, putting folic acid into fortifying foods for children. Um, it is recommended that children have about 400 micrograms of folate or folic acid per day so that they can have the right nutrients. But the problem is that when children are eating things like bread, cereal, waffles, and they're getting an overabundance of that folic acid, it could be causing health issues for them because kids are only supposed to have 400 micrograms of folic acid. Well, that amount is in one serving of any of those products. So let's say for breakfast, a kid has, let's say they have a serving of cereal. Okay, so they've now met their folic acid or folate recommendation. Well, let's say then for lunch they have a sandwich. So now they have double the amount of folic acid in their body. Okay, so let's say for dinner, maybe it was an off day, we're doing breakfast for dinner. Then they have waffles. Now they have even more folic acid in their bodies. And so you're having this issue with people having too much folic acid in their body. It's not the natural form. Your body takes two extra steps to break that down, and it can cause pretty severe health issues. I would consider cancer a severe health issue. Um, Even if it's not like it again, some studies show that yes, that can happen. And so for me and my family, I'm not even gonna take that risk.
Right. No, that makes sense. Like if you can minimize it. Now we're going to have some days, right, where we are like on a road trip, right? That's going to happen. But, you
Yes.
know, for most of the days, if you can control it and minimize it or make it at least the whole food form, then that makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
it's just like anything else, but it's just so amazing. Like even where I'm at in my nutrition coaching career, I hadn't put those pieces together before because there wasn't a need for me to. So I can appreciate you breaking all of that down for me. Like it's incredibly helpful. I know that the girl that was asking about it, her son has struggled with a lot of like ADHD type of reactions or outbursts of poor attitude or overreacting, and he gets like removed from school or from daycare from it. And she was wondering if the folic acid would maybe have something to do with it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention this part because I just my brain focused in on the like
breakfast.
precancerous
Yeah.
issue, but some studies have shown that it can affect the neurological conditions of children, so in the neurodevelopment of children. So that's going to be their mood. That's going to be the hyperactivity that you might see in children. Again, some studies have said yes, it does. Some have said no, it doesn't, like we're not seeing that correlation. But there are some, the important thing is there are some studies that are seeing that that is affecting children. And so again, for me and my own, like I don't want to run that risk. And so yes, I'm glad you brought that around for me because I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, no, it's all connected. It's all connected. And I just know a lot of people, I mean, I have a number of clients that are expecting. I have a number of clients that have young kiddos. I have a number of clients that are grandparents with young grandkids, right? So this is going to help everybody in any phase that they're in. So I'm beyond grateful for you bringing it up because it's just more knowledge to have people have in their back pocket so that they know, oh, this doesn't look right. Maybe we should ask this question. So amazing. Amazing information. Um, a couple more like just like basic questions, I suppose.
Yeah.
So kids' reactions to eating cleaner foods. I know that your oldest is 6, so maybe he doesn't have like a big fight against it because it's always been this way for him. But has he had any reaction to like eating cleaner foods as compared to like friends, or has there been any pushback with that?
Yeah, I mean there is because they so I actually homeschool my kids too. So you know it at time it's not like I see them in a school setting, right? But when we go to birthday parties and things like that's hard sometimes for my kids. Or like they'll see something in the store or they'll see other kids with something in the store and they're like, "Hey, can we have that? Can I have this?" And there are certain things that I do stock my pantry with that are healthier
Mhm. No, they're
version.
not gonna be great, but they're healthier. Yes.
Yes. that I can say, you know what, we can't have that right now. But when we get home, you can have this, sweet treat or this thing that I have found to kind of replace that so they don't feel like they're missing out. Um, and also, like, I am an 80/20 person. Like, I live a clean lifestyle, I do natural remedies, but that truly isn't possible. And I don't have either the time or bandwidth sometimes to do it all, right?
Yeah.
And so, like when we go to birthdays, like birthday parties, for example, that's the best example I can think of right now. I will sometimes bring something special for them that they can have in place of like a cupcake. Or if it is something that I don't have it, I will let them enjoy that treat. And again, because for us, it's like an 80/20, or sometimes it's even like a 90/10 even because we're just not around that food all the time. But I find if we do the best we can with most of the time we have, and again, I do have these snacks, I guess I would say, in my back pocket that I can use to replace with things. I feel like that's a pretty good that's a pretty good solution for that. So I hope that answered what you were speaking
No.
to.
Yeah, absolutely. I know like my kids they go to school and of course I didn't always live this way. So like trying to make the transition has been harder. And I found some of those swaps that they really do enjoy. But my kids still love, the Snickers bar as much as the next kid on occasion. It's more of an 80/20, right? Like it's not going to
Yeah.
be an everyday thing. And we found some of those like replacements. I know one of the other things was like favorite kids products or brands like I know, for instance, like some of the snacks, I'll grab things like Yum Earth. Like they have decent like gummy type options or treats or like Giggles is like a Skittle, right? But it doesn't have the dyes in it. There's still a ton of added sugars in there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it at least doesn't have all the dyes in it and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that brand.
yes, right. So like there's the Yum Earth, I like Simple Mills. They're not all of Simple Mills is great, but they're a heck of a lot better than like their competitors. Things like that. But you tell me what your favorites are because I want to hear if we're like on the same page.
Yeah. Again, I think I was listening to your podcast you did about healthy kids.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes, I use that brand. Yes, I use that brand.
Good. Okay. That's
Yes. I find a lot of things from Costco too. Like Costco they have a really good selection of healthy snacks and things. So,
yeah, for sure. Like my kids, and like I said, we don't always do like the perfect things, but there are better. So like we do have a lot of Simple Mills stuff. We do have like lesser evil popcorn and popcorn snacks or whatever. Those are decent. Um, what is it? Boulder chips. If they really, really want to have chips, I'll get Boulder chips. Is
uh,
the avocado oil.
yes.
Um,
I like that because we're gluten free. I don't think I mentioned that yet. So I love Siete brand
yep.
for anyone who needs to be gluten free. And again, I guess I don't know how they would compare to other in terms of their ingredients, but I do trust that, like, okay, this is a good switch from, something else. And for a gluten free brand, they're pretty good.
Oh yeah, I love Siete brand. My family doesn't Siete, you automatically think Mexican spicy. I'm the only one that likes anything spicy. My kids kind of like tortilla chips sometimes, but let's be honest, if I'm getting Siete, it's for mom, and I'm okay with that.
That was
Um,
good.
yeah, so I love that. But like I'm glad that we're on the same page for a lot of those snacks and treats, like some of those brands and stuff, that just work well. And my kids actually like, who are on the sourdough train, obviously not going to be gluten-free for you unless you do gluten-free flour, but we've been making all kinds of things for them out of sourdough discard and such. So that's been like a big help as well because we've cleaned up our ingredient profiles with our baking as well. But nonetheless.
Yeah.
Um,
I started last year sourdough with gluten free because I
oh,
found someone locally who was willing to give me a starter. And I haven't I've had my starter just in the fridge because I haven't had the time lately. But yes, I love using sourdough, and that again, a gluten-free version, it's great because everything that's being put in your bread.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like bread isn't necessarily the devil, right? It's the store-bought, a lot of the brands of store-bought
Yes.
that have all of those excess ingredients in there that just aren't necessary. So, amen. I'm on with that. Um, Okay, so we've kind of gone over where to start. We've gone over brands, we've gone over makeup, we've gone over your story. It's been so amazing. I really want to make sure because you represent Crunchy, right? Is there any other things that you represent like that you would be able to like have people buy from you for?
Yeah, actually, the companies that I shared with you today, so Attitude, Roa Casa, and Truly Free, I do represent. I'm an affiliate for those companies too. And so I'm able to give a discount to anybody who's just starting out, and I get it. Like it's sometimes can be overwhelming and I don't ever want it to be for anybody. And also, I I also want people to realize like the price points are really comparable to what you're getting with conventional products. But yes, I with those companies, I can get a discount for people so that they can start off with something that fits with their budget and that they can feel good about using.
Amazing. Okay, so I'll ask, and this will be on the podcast, right? Listen to this. I'll have you text over links and codes if that works. Um,
Yeah.
I can have Kinsey, my admin girl, who actually was the one who put me in contact with you. I'll have her put that into the show notes. So that way, if
Okay.
people want to contact you, we'll put your Instagram handle and Facebook stuff in there. And then also we'll have your codes and links and stuff for those companies. That way, if people want to buy, they can at least get a discount from them or reach out with questions. I know I'm
Yeah.
using them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's outstanding. Okay, so any like parting advice for anyone that's feeling like I want to do this, but I'm overwhelmed? What's your best tip for the closeout?
Yeah, I love what you said early on in this conversation, and that is start with something that you're about to run out of. If it's your toothpaste, find a simple swap for your toothpaste. And I will say there are still things I am switching out because I either haven't found something I like or, so it is a process. I never want anyone to feel like oh, because I couldn't switch it all at once. I just can't do it anymore, you know? And so my first piece of advice is find the thing that you're about to run out of. And then either I'm happy to help anybody or there are lots of great helpful resources. I guess I didn't have a chance to share any of that, but like the EWG has a wonderful resource of clean products and they rate products on a scale and they tell you the safety information of each individual ingredient. So that's a great resource for people. The other thing I would say is again, look for companies that are going to be transparent about what's in them if they are sharing their ingredient lists, if they are having a breakdown of every single ingredient, if they're sharing their sourcing, if a company is doing third-party testing, for example, you know that that company, I mean, that takes money to do testing. You know that a company has done the due diligence to provide a pretty clean product. Not always, but the chances are higher that you're going to find a better product that way.
That's outstanding. And I totally agree. Like start with one thing at a time. If you're out of face wash, switch just your face wash. And then once you're out of your lotion, switch your lotion. We're not here to tell you to throw away your money and like all of that stuff on stuff that you've already bought, but use what you have and then start picking one thing at a time to kind of switch through. I love that advice. So perfect. Um,
Yeah.
Cannot thank you enough for making time for this. This is going to help so many people. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Of course. Okay, well, we'll chat soon. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.